You're a little dark. Hey, Amy. How
Hello.
are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. I'm so glad to be here with you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so I am actually in the middle of nowhere, Maine right now.
Ah,
Yeah.
beautiful nowhere, Maine, it looks like.
Well, I'm in the only room of our little cottage that has any privacy. So I'm feeling a little glowy going on. So I'm Mary McClements, and this is Amy Magyar, who's the owner of FromWithin Coaching. And you know, I don't know if everyone feels this. Those of us who are just so lucky to go on vacation right now during COVID. I mean, it feels kind of weird, but I think I'm more grateful for it now than any other time.
I bet.
Because sometimes you get like the space to kind of get out of your daily routine and think about things. And so some questions have come up for me during vacation where that I thought I would love to ask you about, Amy. How's that sound?
Sounds great. I'm all ears. I'm fascinated. Yeah, go for it.
Good.
I think one of the things about getting out of the old environment that you're in, and for many of us, we've been in the same environment for months now, right?
Yeah.
Is a new environment creates a little bit of natural curiosity. It gives you're not seeing the same four walls, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have different things to look at, which creates a different way for the brain to think, and that can actually increase creativity and just allow yourself to be thinking about different things than what you normally think of. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised in any way.
Yeah. I love it. It's one of the main reasons I like being able to get out of my norm is just that space to think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Amy, as one of the questions I have is, so you're a coach who helps people become coaches. You're a coach's coach.
Yeah.
And I know that during COVID, well, anytime, coaches are needed, but there's been a big increase in the need for coaches. And I'm wondering what, as you are meeting with potentially new coaches or new coaches, I'm wondering if you're seeing a pattern, if there's things that are coming up that folks are struggling with, like of their own questioning of, should I be a coach? What type of coach? How do I know how to do this? Yeah, what's my next step? And so I would love to hear what you've been seeing.
Sure. It is. I put out a challenge to friends and family and my network and random strangers to sort of say, if somebody has ever said to you, wow, you're a really great listener, or wow, you really helped me with my problems, and you've heard that more than a few times in your lifetime, um, you're needed. You may not be a nurse, you may not work in a grocery store, you may not be part of supply chain, but during COVID, your ears are needed.
Mm.
And I think, in whether it's an official capacity as a coach or just as a friend, listening and helping people focus and share and be able to get out what's happening for them is so important. So I sort of say, in many ways, it's time for your imposter syndrome to get up on the shelf and for you to pull down being a coach, because a global pandemic is happening where we're going through such incredible emotional roller coasters around so many different topics and things
Right.
that we need to sort of put that fear aside so that we can help other people with their fear. And I
Mm.
think to your question, I think it's probably the number one fear that people have when they're coming to me saying, okay, I'm ready to help people, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Is
Mm-hmm.
that thing of like, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a plan for it. I don't know how to help them. I don't know how to help them in the first session, maybe second session. What happens if they get stuck? And I don't have a plan, right? And I think what's interesting, and you know this as a coach, is we do have a plan, and our plan is, in my mind, it's sort of, the plan is based on three things. First is, the plan is to stay as curious as you can as a coach. Be fascinated with
Yeah.
whatever they're bringing to the table. Even if what they say to you is something that resonates so much for you that it's something you've gone through and you know exactly what they're talking about, don't assume what happened for them is the same as what happened to you. So just staying super curious and consistently asking more and more. the thing that happens with people, we don't intend to do it. Even I know that I've done it with my coaches, is that we don't bring really what's happening to the table within the first 5 minutes of the conversation. So in an exploratory or in a first coaching conversation, the questions that the coach may ask are things like, share a little bit about what's happening for you or what's important to share. Is that whatever they share there is probably half about what's really going on. It could be because they don't know what's really happening, so they're only bringing what they're aware of. The other thing is that it's uncomfortable to really bring what's really happening. So they'll bring part of it, not even knowing that they're only bringing part of it. And so our jobs as coaches is to not get caught in what they bring immediately, but know that whatever they brought is probably more of a symptom of what's really happening.
Right.
And so curiosity keeps us asking those questions of, tell me a little bit more about that and what else. And so, share with me a deeper view of that. So maybe they tell you a story and it's like, I'm feeling, I'm feeling stuck. What does stuck feel like? Tell me a little bit more about that. How's that showing up? That is our goal, is to stay curious. That is our plan. That's it. Because at the end of the day, the agenda for the session actually really is the clients. And that can be the most mind-blowing thing for a coach. Is that our agenda is stay curious, but not to control the conversation. We're not there to control it. We're there to help them create, and this is the second part, awareness. So your agenda as a coach is to stay curious and to create awareness. Awareness around what? Who knows?
Perfect.
Who knows what's going to come up, right? Awareness on what's happening for them, how they're feeling about a situation, all these different things. And so, because awareness creates action and momentum, and can often, it's sort of like, I used to be really scared of the thing that was underneath my bed when I was a little girl. It was this like crazy mass, and I thought it was like this weird alien, and at night it looked really spooky and dark when I looked underneath the bed. And then one day I finally decided to look at it, and it was just a pile of socks, and so it's sort of, and I use that, for most of us, we'd be lucky if what really scares us is a pile of socks under our beds. However, when we bring things out into the light, they often lose their power to fear. And so if we can't get clear on what's happening, it doesn't matter. I can't give you the best marketing idea in the world. I can't tell you what your best new job is. If we don't work on what it is that's keeping you from being able to move forward, then we're not going to get anywhere. So I'll go back. So if a coach stays curious and their number 2 agenda is to just create awareness, I'm going to give you the tip for what do they need to create awareness around. And it's a little bit sort of like the metaphor I used about the socks under the bed is fear. So fear is the predominant feeling that most clients feel. So if you as a coach are afraid to go into a coaching session because you don't know what's going to happen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Stay curious, create awareness, and go after fear. Because they're scared of something, someone, some action, the past, the future, current. It's fear-based. So part of that is to give you as a coach a structure to know that's most likely going to be what you're going to face. So if you're scanning for fear and you're staying curious around what is that fear, you're never going to fail the client, right? Because your job is not to actually fix the client. And I think one of the things that does happen, Mary, is coaches are afraid to, maybe they get really excited about the first couple minutes because they're like, okay, this is the first time we're working together. I feel really prepped. I know exactly what I'm supposed to ask you. So one of the things to ask a brand new client, could be during an exploratory, it could be during a first session. Like what's one of the first questions that you always ask people?
What's going to be helpful for you today?
Right. So right there, what's really cool is you're helping them set the agenda.
Yeah.
You're not saying, here's what's going to be helpful for you today. Right. So that's the question that you have. And unknowingly, you're sort of setting yourself up for potentially letting them talk about anything, right?
Yeah.
Which can be a little bit scary because you're just like, I don't know if I'm going to know about what they're talking about, right?
Yeah. I don't know. But you
Yeah.
don't have to.
No, no. And you don't have to because
Uh-oh. Froze
oh,
up.
oh, okay, hold on for a second.
I mean, the beauty is that you don't need to know everything about everything.
No, because it's not often it's not the subject that they're talking about. What we're doing is we're scanning for fear. We're scanning for what's happening for them around that. When I coach NASA scientists, do you think I know what the heck half the time they're talking about? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I failed physics, chemistry, and sort of math. So that is not my forte. But what I'm listening for is what's happening for them in that situation with that coworker. What
Mhm.
are they afraid of? And
Mhm.
helping them create awareness around their action. And so I think what's so interesting is that the first couple minutes of a coaching session, a coach will feel really comfortable. They're like, I know what I'm supposed to ask. But after that person actually gives you, I want to talk about, whatever it is, X, is I literally watch coaches like freeze and go, I don't know about that. Or,
Mm.
I don't know what to ask of the next question. And I think one of the things that we can practice as coaches is being okay not knowing, because
Yeah,
guess what? When we don't know, we get more curious,
totally. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I love, Amy, that coaching, it's not just selfless. It's almost like stripping away the ego, because it's so absolutely not about an agenda or the coach coming up with an answer or being all knowing. And it takes everything away from the coach and gives it to the person
Yes.
being coached. And I love that. And I love that, that true curiosity. And I know that when I was a new coach, I was like, okay, I was more worried about making sure that the person I was coaching knew that I was a good coach versus being really curious.
Oh,
And there's a lot of ego in that. It's like, I
yeah.
want them to know that I'm good at this.
Well, you
So I
want,
want to
and
come up with all the best questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you want to provide value, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that, you want to make sure they get something out of it. And I think one of the things about coaching, just like in therapy or just like in any project, is some days you have little wins and sometimes you have giant wins.
Yeah.
And your agenda as the coach is not to have a big win or a little win or aim for the big. Your job is to create awareness, and it could be a tiny teeny sliver of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what's so amazing sometimes is that's all it takes
Mm-hmm.
to help process. I mean, we live for those moments where you literally see the light bulb go off above the person's head, right?
And I love it.
Just amazing. That is so much more rare than having the smaller aha moments and letting them process, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
your job and your value as a coach is to create awareness, not fix them,
Right.
right? Not, they don't know a best question or not because they're not. It's funny. There are times as a client, even me as a coach, right, who has two coaches that I work with, a business coach, and then I call her just my general oil change coach, my life coach. Um, is even when they're asking me questions,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not rating the questions. I'm not being like, that was a good question.
Right.
Every once in a while, when it takes my breath away,
Yeah.
it's a good question because
Yeah.
you don't
You're
have
like,
the answer.
whoa. Yeah.
Like that was,
Or I've never been asked that before. Yeah.
it's not so much whether it's a good question or a bad question. It's that was needed,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, that was
Yeah.
so needed to
Yeah.
be said. Yeah. And so I think for us of kind of that ego of I have to create value, I have to fix them I have to have major aha epiphanies every time. Those are kind of conversations that you need to have with your client before you get started. Of some days we're going to have giant ahas, other days we're going to have a little sliver. My job is to
Yeah.
help you create awareness, which is going to help you create momentum. So the more honest we are with our clients, we're also,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
helping set the expectation of what to expect in a coaching session. I had a coach who I'm working with, who I just adore right now. And she was so honest with me because she said, you know why I hired you? I was like, I'm fascinated. Why? She said, because I just want you to tell me what to do. I'm a coach and I just want you to tell me what to do. I know that's not going to work. I still want you to do it for me. And I was like,
Right.
why is that? She said, because I just know that what I'm doing hasn't been working.
Mm.
And I said, well, it's more fun to look at what you have done, what you haven't done. Not everything hasn't worked. Let's play with maybe a little bit of what has worked, what's gotten in the way of it not working, versus me coming up with brand new ideas for you.
Yeah.
Plus, you just got done telling me you hate when people tell you what to do, right? They're usually wrong. So,
Yeah.
it's just such a normal human being thing. And yet, as coaches ourselves, we have to keep reminding ourselves our job is not to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Our job is to help them explore what they already know, have just been afraid to say out loud.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes
Great.
sense for people that are sort of watching this, but
I think it makes tons of sense. And it's
super subtle. So curiosity, creating awareness, scanning for fear. That's your job. That's your plan. If you want to suddenly become a coach of people with diabetes, well, yeah, you could create on the first session, you do this, on the second session, you do this, on the third, you do this. The challenge is that not everybody is in the same place in their diabetic journey.
Right.
So it's not that you're not scanning for where are they currently at, what are medications around, things like that. You're going to ask those questions, but you stay looser because there maybe is something that they want to talk about that has actually nothing to do with diabetes. It's maybe how they got to becoming a diabetic, especially if it's diabetic, sort of the second type, where it was based on eating too much sugar or food, and they want to start talking about emotional eating.
Mm-hmm.
Now is not the time to go back suddenly to the monitoring the diabetes. It's talking about what they just brought up, which is potentially emotional eating and going after that. So if we're rigid as coaches, we're going to miss these golden opportunities to actually get to the truth. Because again, as I said in the beginning, not everybody brings their full truth. Even coaches, when we're getting coached, we don't even always know that we're not bringing our own truth. So that's the beauty of having someone who is staying curious, who's helping us create awareness and scanning for our fear, because those are things often that we can't do for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's true. Amy, this has been so great. And I feel like how you've laid it out, you've had it in these kind of 3 pillars. And I feel like, the next question for me would be, so I'm doing these 3 things. I'm being curious. I'm, scanning for fear. I'm helping them, I'm creating awareness. The next question, maybe this is a teaser for next time, is, so what do you do when the person you're coaching won't look under the bed?
Ooh. Okay. And so for those of you listening, that is the trailer for next week. What happens if you are, you are staying curious, creating awareness, scanning for fear, you see the fear, maybe you point out the fear, but they're just not ready to look under the bed yet. All right, Mary, that is it. That is the next 20-minute conversation.
Awesome.
For part 2. I love it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
absolutely.
Thank you for satisfying my curiosity about, what are folks coming to you with? So it's great.
So the usual thing that I ask at the end of every single one of my coaching sessions, and I do this for a number of reasons, and this may be important for people who are thinking about becoming a coach or currently are a coach, is what I think you're going to take away from our conversation might be wrong. So I'm going to stay curious, and instead of assuming what your takeaway is from what I shared, I'm going to ask you, what's your takeaway from our conversation today, Mary? What are you going to walk away with?
It's talking with you and hearing how you put it into, I'm calling it pillars because I feel like that's like the foundation of coaching.
Yeah.
Is that I think for many new coaches, there is this weight of, I have to make sure this person makes all this change, and I have to make sure that they are aware, and I have to there's so much responsibility, and it's not like that. It's more like you are helping the person who's being coached hold the responsibility
Yeah.
almost.
Oh,
Does that make sense? Like it's like, yeah,
it's a
it's almost like
partnership,
a release
right?
of like, okay, I don't have to take care of everything. I need to be curious. I need to truly be curious.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's just a great reminder that I
Oh,
got from you today.
I love it. I love it. The takeaway for me is just remembering that no matter how long you've been coaching for, no matter how long you've been a leader for, no matter how many times you've heard the same story and over again from different clients,
Mm-hmm.
the key to success is always not assuming and staying curious, because that person is an individual. Their reaction or response to a situation may be different than somebody else. Their signs of fear may show up similar to another client or another employee that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume that it's coming from the same place. And
Right.
that's my Clifton strength individualization kind of, peeking
Yeah.
out. But,
Yeah.
just reminding us all, curiosity is so amazing. It may be annoying when you're a mom or dad and you have a 3-year-old that asks you why all the time. However, there is a beauty in that in terms of really seeking to understand. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that. And
Yeah.
Mary, you got us juiced up for the second one. I love it. Well, we'll look forward to doing that one in another week. I know you
Good.
won't be in the same background, but I appreciate you
Yeah.
going on this journey with me.
Yeah. It's my pleasure. So good to hear.
Thanks so much.
Okay.